I feel like there will not be a top 20 next week. We are having lots of technical issues already. That's not your problem, that's mine, just like most other things. I also don't have very many stupid friends. I have some. That just means two morons are agreeing about something. How many flat earthers do we know? Enough. But I'm an old term. Also, I want to take a quick second and or a minute, because I can't do anything in a second. Two of the questions, and there aren't many, according to Reddit, which I realize is the trash can of information. It's smaller, but it's better. I hope this, let's go with 27th birthday of yours, is just going to be fantastic this year. I'm capable of making decisions. I think my track record on making the right decision at the right time has been called into question.
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to another episode of the Hard Rock Lunchbox. If you're watching on Strangerhood TV on YouTube, welcome to the Top 20. We are having lots of technical issues already. My laptop is already screwing things up, so I don't know what that's going to mean. I can't quite see if it's going to catch up, but that's not your problem, that's mine, just like most other things. So I will try and ignore what's happening in front of me, which is probably good advice for most of my existence. But I'm going to try and get through the rest of the show. Although I will tell you that given the delay that I'm seeing, I feel like there will not be a top 20 next week. I don't even know how to fix this. This is just bananas. So for those of you playing at home, there's about a 3-second delay on the video feed, which is fine if it's going to be consistent. Then I can just shift the audio underneath it. But I will say it is hella difficult watching yourself in delay. So I'm just going to try and ignore that for right now and see what will happen. And it's nice to see everyone in the chat. Everyone's very excited for the show on Saturday night, which is awesome to hear. I am trying to get there myself. I actually have a couple things that I'm excited about for the show Saturday night, all musical related, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, let's get started here, because at least I can count on this. So there's a brand new top 20 out today. I thought the title was funny. It's DJ Explains It All again. I never actually watched Clarissa Explains It All, but I always like that title, so I feel like I've used it a couple of times, and it was really me reiterating what I had reiterated the week before about, tariffs and American manufacturing and stuff like that. It was funny. I did get unsurprisingly, a good amount of pushback. I actually got one comment that was interesting. It was from somebody who had worked at a facility, I think they said in Missouri, that actually, because I was talking about the Nike shoes, but they worked in a facility in Missouri that made the air pads, sacks, whatever, for any air whatever basketball shoe. And I was very happy that they actually said that, and I don't think they were being a dick or anything. I think they were just very matter-of-factly, which, as I keep saying, is stuff that I really do appreciate when people are going to offer up some information, because that's important. And as far as I'm concerned, if that's an existing operation already in the United States, I feel like we should do everything to protect that and just maintain that. So that's awesome. I did get a lot of pushback about how it doesn't take 10 hours to make a Nike shoe. I want to be very clear. I got that information from Nike, so I don't know that they have any reason to lie. It seemed more like just a typical corporate report about how things work, and things were extrapolated out and all that other stuff. So I don't know what to tell you. That's what Nike says. They would know better than any keyboard warrior on Instagram or YouTube or wherever you happen to be. So again, it's another example of people just assuming that because they were told something, they now know something that's true. And then, of course, the failing of most Americans at this point that think that they're smarter than they are because somebody else said something they agree with. And as I constantly tell you, If you are saying something and then somebody else says the same thing and they're also retarded, then you're retarded. And I mean that in not the disability, well, actually I mean it in very much the intellectual disability way, in the true sense of the word. But you need, like, you ever, like, I mean, I haven't been in this situation where, like, I've hung out with my stupid friend and they say something and then I agree with it, because I just don't do that. Like, it's just not something I do. I also don't have very many stupid friends. I have some, like, they're fun to have around for sure. But, like, I know, like, whenever, one of the ways that Noodle and I argue is that he'll say something that's demonstrably not true, and I'll demonstrate that, and he still won't matter. But, like, I could just be stupid too and just agree with it, but I just don't do that. So, if you are one of those people that have ever, like, said, like, oh, this is something, and then somebody else says, yeah, that's something, that doesn't make it true. That just means two morons are agreeing about something, right? That is a very different thing than a fact or a truth. That is a consensus, which is probably way too big of a word for you kind of people to understand. Not you people, like, not you in the listening audience, but, like, let's just be quite clear about that. So, I mean, just at its simplest form, two people saying the same stupid thing does not make it a fact, does not make it true. It makes it a consensus among two people, right? How many flat earthers do we know? Enough. So, I think that's probably all we really need to say about that. So, anyway, so on the rest of that episode, I do talk about the Elon Musk thing and the crosswalk hack that was going on the West Coast, which I still think is funny. And, of course, I talk about the debadging of Teslas in Seattle, which I also thought was funny. In economic news, Tesla has lost, like, something like 70% of its value in the year, which is exactly what economists have been saying, like, you can really damage a brand, and he has. And it's funny to see people out in the world or in the webosphere talking about, like, hey, isn't it funny how all these people that thought Teslas were the answer to to a problem now are just so anti-Tesla, and they're assuming that means that what they were buying Teslas for is not really all that important to them. That's not true. So it's a question of what your priorities actually are. So if your number one priority in the world is, I'm going to drive an EV to save fossil fuels, save pollution, and, deal with climate change, and that is your number one priority, I'm pretty sure you're still buying Teslas for that reason. Or maybe you've looked elsewhere. Maybe you're getting a Prius, maybe you're getting a Rivian. But for most people, it's not their, ride or die issue. And I think what people on the right are missing in this point is that a lot of people, their key issue are their fundamental rights and the fundamental way democracy works. And you have an individual who is absolutely threatening some of those things, so that priority becomes higher than driving an EV. And people on the right always like, look at all these lefties that are burning Teslas. Like, that's not the case. It's been a few. And they haven't even found all of the people that have done it, few of them. And we don't know what their story is. My gut feeling is that there's at least one person that was a government worker that got fired by Elon Musk's Doge department, fake Doge, because it's still not a real department, since it hasn't been confirmed by Congress. But I'm not even going to argue that point with people on the right, because they don't know absolutely nothing about civics, or what they do know they're bearing, so they can get their kind of way. So, but I think that's just an important thing about the blogosphere, or that's an old term. But I'm an old term, so I guess it doesn't really much matter. I'm sure I had more to say on that. I'm just sorry, I'm a little scattered today. It's one of the reasons I was late. Also, my laptop had a reboot just so I could get it to not work properly here. And I had trouble getting music over, because why not? Because I don't know. I will say I'll say that in a second. So two quick things. We'll be at Whiskey Rocks on Saturday night. I'm looking forward to the show, as I said. It's nice to see a lot of other people looking forward to the show, too, because that is really one of my favorite parts about playing local shows, is that it just affords this sort of sense of community and something for people to look forward to. And I don't mean to, like, push my issues onto other people or project them onto other people, but I do know at times that there are kind of greater and grander results or resulting implications of having shows within our sandbox community. It's a place where we can meet. It's a place where we can hang in, relative safety of, kind of friendship and camaraderie. And sometimes people just need that. And I know for a fact that I have needed that. My stresses and my anxieties and my social problems aside, like, the hang is always good. In fact, Jimmy and I were even just sort of talking about that a couple days ago, about it's going to be really good to just sort of hang. And that can't possibly be of value just to me and Jimmy in this community. So, like, I'm extrapolating, and I'm sorry if I'm misspeaking. I know that's something I do all the time when I'm not busy assuming things, but, like, I hope that that's true for everybody that needs it. So I'm looking forward to that, because I feel like it's a good time for our community to get together, have a few laughs, do a little healing, pulling out of whatever moments they need to pull out of to be in a different one for a little while. And I think that is going to happen. So for that, I am looking forward to it. The lineup, again, if you haven't seen, is Minimum Champion's going to be doing an opening acoustic set. Pine Street's then going to be playing, and then it's going to be us, and then Oswald's Revenge. So that's going to be good. As far as I'm aware, we're supposed to be on stage by 10. I would not be surprised if it goes a little bit earlier, because there's an acoustic act opening the show, and that's usually a quicker turnover. I just don't know. I know that we have a 40-minute set, and we're going to probably play all 40 minutes of it. So, but we will haul ass off stage so Oswald can play, and then get off stage at a reasonable hour, and then we can do our post-show hang like we always seem to, because that'll be fun. Also, I want to take a quick second and or a minute, because I can't do anything in a second, and just thank anybody and everybody that has taken time to stream and listen to End Us All. That is the brand new Revel 9 release that came out on Friday. I can tell you from a statistical point of view, it is the fastest and most listened to release in its first 7 days in Revel 9's history. And we haven't even we're on day 7 of the release, because it came out last Friday. But even the numbers as of last night, the numbers as they stood yesterday evening were about 8,000 streams. The numbers posted to Spotify on public are always delayed, but they're already at over 6,000 streams, which to me is just bananas, especially considering I didn't think this was the strongest of the releases. But, my band and my producer did, so I acquiesced, because I don't I'm capable of making decisions. I think my track record on making the right decision at the right time has been called into question just enough for me to take that seriously. Also, life has shown me that to not be a very accurate indicator of what is the right thing to do, so I listened, and that's what we went with first, and it looks like it was the right move. I'm super happy and proud that people like that song so much, and that they're listening to it. And at last check, it was like 3,400 unique listeners had listened to it, with an average of like 2 listens or 1.9 listens. So they listened to it once, and then listened to it again, and then dipped out in the last chorus, which I don't blame you. I do no stellar work in the last chorus of that song. It's not really worth listening to. So I totally understand. But I do want to thank everybody, because I know there's people that listen less than one and all other stuff. So I want to thank all the people that listen more than once and more than twice and more than 5 and 10 times, because they skew those numbers. But I think it's awesome. I mean, again, from a statistical point of view, it's like every single one of our monthly listeners listen to it at least once, which is fantastic, and kind of what you want in the world. So I'm super happy to see what happens for that over the next 28 days. Much like any crime that needs to be solved in 48 hours, your first 28 days kind of tell you the trajectory of any given single. And given how sort of underplayed or underperforming the last two releases went, and by the last two releases I mean the live songs, Another Mistake and then San Jose, which was absolutely just a dreadful release. So we're probably not going to release any other live singles. There just seems no point. So we'll probably just release the whole live record at some point, just to little or no fanfare, but I will let you know when that is going to happen. I meant to tell you this last week just because it's an interesting thing, and I don't think I got to it, but just quickly in case I already said it. The problem with San Jose is when you release a song, two of the questions, and there aren't many, when you release a song in Spotify, or when you pitch it. So when you release a song and it goes to all the streaming platforms, one of the platforms is Spotify. And one of the things you can do on Spotify is you can pitch it to their editors to get it on their release radar. Now, release radar, for anybody that has Spotify, probably already knows this, it is the songs that you, as a listener, and your algorithm have determined that the algorithm has determined that you want to listen to, right? That's why it's super important. Revel 9 has somewhere north of 6,000 monthly listeners. That means every time we release a song, if it goes on their release radar, it falls in front of their face on Friday when they go to release radar, depending on how high it is. And that's exactly what happened with End of Sol. End of Sol did get on release radar, and that's why I think it has so many listens so quickly, because if you just check out Release Radar, and why wouldn't you, Revel 9 has a brand new song out. Cool, I'll listen to that. I like Revel 9, I'll listen to that. That did not happen with San Jose, and the reason is, according to Reddit, which I realize is the trash can of information on the internet, but it does have a lot of stuff in there, is that, like I said, there's two things you could check off. One is you have to check off whether or not it's a live recording, and the other is you have to check off whether it is or contains a cover. So for San Jose, because we got the beat at the end of it, we had to check both those boxes, and apparently those are two checks against you, because Spotify devalues not only live songs, because the recordings tend to be lesser, but they also downplay covers because they're not special, I guess, to the average listener. So Spotify's algorithm determined that San Jose would not be a good fit for Release Radar, and to just hit that point home, it didn't even show up on my release radar, right? Like, I wrote the goddamn thing, it didn't even show up on my release radar, which is why to date, and that's been out quite a while, like several weeks at this point, it is south of 3,000 plays, making it our lowest performing or slowest performing single that we've ever released, which was disheartening and definitely created a lot of stress for me ahead of End of Sol, because I didn't know if we had crossed some weird line that we're no longer eligible for that. But I'm happy to announce that doesn't seem to be the case. I hope it showed up on everybody's release radar. I know my release radar was good this week because it had it had End of Sol from Revel 9, and of course it had Ghost from Oswald's Revenge. So it seems like everything is back to normal in Spotify land, and I'll find out for sure when we release the next single, which will be It's Alright, and that's probably coming out at the end of June, ahead of our July show. Man, I'm so goddamn tired. Yeah, I actually wanted to talk a little bit more about community. I had some really nice conversations with some people this week, and I kind of realized that, like, as much as I miss, like, the heyday of the Sandbox and stuff, I'm finding it to be now, recently, a little more satisfactory. It's smaller, but it's better. Like, there's not, like, when it was bigger, there were like bad actors in it that were causing problems, and it's not that it was my job to monitor, but it was certainly my job to sort of protect myself from those things, and since I'm just not bright enough to do that, I didn't. But I find that when it's small, when I was doing voiceover work, one of my coaches used to say in our groups when they were small, she would say, like, you know, we are small, but we are mighty. And that sort of resonates here now. So, like, I do want to take yet another minute just to throw some appreciation at all the people that really do stick with the sandbox and share those kinds of ideals and all that other stuff, because while it's smaller now and the impact is not as large as I feel like it once was, it feels better. It feels kinder. It feels safer in a way. But it feels all those things that are psychologically important to me, and I'm hoping to other people too. So if you haven't been feeling that, like, let's work on that together. We can certainly address that. But if you are been feeling it, then awesome. I'm in that very same boat with you. And I think that's a great thing. So, and one of those people that really spends way more of his time on me than he should have, besides Dan, Jimmy, and Mike, is my buddy Andy, who happens to be his birthday. So I feel like this would be a really good time to celebrate Andy. And I could do a whole retrospective, but I'm not going to do that because that would have taken prep work, and I could barely even get out of my chair over there to get here on time. So I'm just going to play. I'm going to pick an Oswald song. It's going to fit because I'm going to play songs for the bands that are playing on Saturday night anyway. But I think it's a good time to just wish Andy a happy birthday, and I hope this, let's go with 27th birthday of yours, is just going to be fantastic this year. Happy birthday, buddy. I do indeed love you, and I will see you, of course, on Saturday night. So here's a taste of Oswald's Revenge, although I can't imagine anyone in my listening audience hasn't heard this, or doesn't know what Oswald sound like. But I know for a fact almost all of you do not know what they sound like live, but hopefully you will not be able to say that by Sunday morning. But this is what they sound like recorded, and let's go with Glow. It kicks off the box today.